What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. It's Alarm Fantasy Football. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Andrew Cooper. And we're going to put week 4 in our rearview mirror almost. Take a look at some waiver wire action here for NFL week 5. So get your little fantasy football notepads and paper out, and let's start taking some notes. Coop, what's going on, man? How'd week 4 finish up for you?
I'm just ready for this week's episode of pretend like everything's okay,
Well, you're like the little guy sitting there amongst like the fire, sipping on your coffee, being like, "Fine."
This is fine. This is fine. It is crazy. I mean, and the thing is, it's scoring's down across the board, so everybody's doing bad. I just wish this is supposed to be the easy year at tight end, Howard. We were supposed to get a break this year. This is supposed to be that everybody gets an elite tight end and everybody's great and tight end revolution and we don't have to worry about it. And not only have those guys not panned out, but there's not really anyone emerging on the wire too. So we're going to do our best today to help break that down, help give you a little bit of hope, but we're doing the best we can. Right, Howard?
Well, and see, that's the thing, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, because yeah, you can get pissed off that Kyle Pitts put up a 0 burger, that Mark Andrews dropped the one target that he got. You want to be frustrated, you want to say, I got to move on from these guys. That's fine. Where are you going to move on to? Like, who are you going to pick up off the waiver wire that you think you're just going to plug into your lineup and utilize every single week? There is nobody out there like that. I think that's one of the biggest problems that a lot of fantasy football players, I'm trying to think of the right word to call them, but people who sit there and play fantasy football, that's fine if you want to say this guy sucks or whatever, but what are your other options? Because I'm looking at the waiver wire right now, and yeah, you want to drop Mark Andrews, go ahead. You want to drop Kyle Pitts, do it. I don't give a crap. Do whatever you want to do. It's your flipping team. But, go ahead. You add Jonnu Smith, add Colby Parkinson, add any of these guys who are sitting there on your waiver wire right now. See who maybe has a good matchup this week and throw a dart. I'd rather sit there and chug out Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts every single week without fail, because I mean, what am I scratching and clawing for 1.3 points because maybe Colby Parkinson catches an extra pass?
Right. And that's exactly the thing. It's like Kyle Pitts had a 50-yard play. He scored a touchdown. He had another play where he was passing the field on the end zone. This week, he lined up at wide receiver, got 3 targets at wide receiver, didn't catch any of them. It's the first game in his career as a 23-year-old who's been in the league now, this is his 3rd year, that he hasn't caught a pass, right? This is the first time that's happened. And it's like the memes are funny, this, that, whatever, but this is a guy that has upside. We go after him for a reason. And most of these other guys, like Howard said, are getting 3, 4, 5 targets. So for me, if you truly feel you need to, and your team's bleeding, go out and add guys like Ertz, Parkinson, these boring 3, 4, 5 target guys. For me, I'm still sticking with the yin and yang tight end. And as you guys will see when the rankings come out, the rankings are coming out shortly on the website with the waiver article that's going to be up. You'll see that basically I just took Andrews and Pitts and made them yang tight ends as part of the process. Just do me a favor. We've known that you can go yin and yang tight end. We've known that you can go yang tight end to get risky. Rostering 2 of these boring guys has never, ever been the answer. Going out and adding 2 of the, having 2 Cole Kmets on your team has never once been the answer. So always, always give yourself a shot at upside. If you want to add Tucker Kraft and start him this week against the Rams, go right ahead. I know you're kind of chasing last week's 58 attempts, right? That the Packers had. That's not going to happen every week. But if you want to do that, just make sure someone on your bench has a chance to actually outright be a top 2 target on the team. That's all I'm saying. And that's it.
And
for tight end rant.
Jerry Nelson just asked in the chat, what about Tucker Kraft? I mean, yeah, it's a nice matchup against the Rams, but where's Tucker Kraft right now among scoring? Overall, if you're looking at it in the tight end rankings, he's behind Dalton Kincaid, he's behind Sam Laporta, he's behind Gesicki, Hunter Henry, Zach Ertz, Pat Freiermuth, right? Kelsey's there, Ferguson's there.
Yeah, it's the same thing we did with Cole Kmet.
You're better off asking me about stupid Cole Kmet than you are asking me about Tucker Kraft. It's the same nonsense. Like, that's the problem that people don't seem to understand. You know, it's like when you're talking DFS to somebody, right? And you're explaining to them that it doesn't matter that you have Dontavian Wicks in your lineup if 60% of the field also has Dontavian Wicks in their lineup. Like, it doesn't matter if he pops off or if he puts up a 0. 60% ownership means you're not moving the needle at all in your contest overall. So when you're sitting here and you're trying to split hairs with these, with these tight ends, who's going to be better, who's in this, just know that if you're giving up on your Kyle Pittses and your Dalton Kincaids and you're giving up on Mark Andrews, just know that you're going to spend the rest of your season, and I mean it, the rest of your season, because somebody's going to scoop them up immediately.
Right.
The rest of your season, you are streaming the tight end position, and if you use waiver priority or fab, you're wasting it streaming in these knuckleheads who are maybe going to get you 6 points in a week.
Exactly. And, and I will say this, if you truly in your heart of hearts look at the group of pass catchers that the Packers have, and you say to yourself, I think Tucker Kraft deserves to be a top 2 target on this team week in and week out. I mean, even if you say, okay, Jaden Reed's 1 and Tucker Kraft is 2, ahead of Wicks, ahead of Dubs, if that's what you truly believe, absolutely go in and do it. We're just telling you that right now, we don't necessarily believe that. And last week, this team dropped back to pass 58 times. I don't have to explain to people why that's not normal. The average offensive plays, including run plays, just in general, is 63. They basically did an entire game worth of passing the ball. That's why everybody got extra targets. That's why Cole Kmet got extra targets the week before. So Tucker Kraft, yes, he's a decent spot start against the Rams, decent matchup. Just don't think that if you add Tucker Kraft, all your problems are over.
No, I mean, listen, perfect example of what you just said. Caleb Williams, right? And the Bears, they played 90 snaps, 90 offensive snaps in week 3. What did they do in week 4? 60.
Which is normal.
30, which is normal. That's 30 fewer plays. So if you see something, like, look at the data. We've got snap counts over there, and just go to the quarterback and you can see how many, as long as the quarterback plays the entire game. But you can see exactly how many offensive snaps a team ran. And if you see an anomaly like 90, just know that, coming back the following week, chances are you're not going to see that level of play calling. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Exactly. And now we will switch over into positivity, and we'll get ready to get our season back on track, and we'll win some goddamn leagues, Howard, right?
Well, I hope so, man, because I need some positivity here, because I'm seeing, what the problem is? The problem is, and this is why I get frustrated with fantasy. And listen, I've been doing this for 20 years, people, all right? More than 2 decades, actually, okay? And it astounds me year after year that the same questions get asked over and over and over again. And I'll just, I'll throw it out here to Mojo in the chat. Is it time to trade away Devon Achane or bench him? The benching part, if you've got viable running backs, fine. Miami looks terrible right now. How Miami did not have the sense to give themselves a legitimate backup quarterback. I get it. You don't want to start like any kind of QB controversy here with Tua. But with how crappy the Miami offense has looked over the last 2 weeks without Tua, I mean, that's terrible. And so, yeah, you might have to bench Devon Achane. Trade him? What? Like, it's buy low, sell high. And this is what bothers me, because I had somebody call up the Fantasy Alarm Show yesterday, Coop, and they were asking about who there were 2 wide receivers that they were like, yeah, should I trade them? And, it was Brandon Ayuk was one of them, and then there was, I can't remember who the other one was, but it was a top wide out also who's just been struggling. And I'm like, if you're going to trade somebody, you have to wait until they pop off. When Devon Achane rushes for 100 yards and scores 2 touchdowns, catches 5 passes for 62 yards and another touchdown, that's when you trade him. You trade him when the value is at its height, not when it's at its floor. And
Right.
when you're looking at, if you're sitting there, if you're shopping around a guy who absolutely sucks right now, just statistically speaking, you're going to get nothing but low ball offers, and you're going to make a mistake because you're going to trade a guy where his value is at its absolute lowest point.
Nobody ever drives a Lamborghini where the license plate says "sell low" on it.
No. or that has a bumper sticker on the back of it that says my other car's a Buick.
Exactly, dude.
Right? I mean, it's just
right.
like these are the things, people, that you have to take into account year after year after year. Scoring might be down here. Teams start slow. Things are still sorting themselves out, and we're working through it. It's been 4 games. I get it. The panic is setting in because God forbid you lose 3 games in a season and be able to make your playoffs.
Yeah.
But it's
nobody's eliminated from the playoffs through 4 weeks, right?
Just
and
learn,
so
people.
That's what we're focused on here.
Stop panicking and learn.
There's a ton of that in the articles, the waiver articles that should be up shortly if they're not up already. That basically what we're doing is we're looking at talented players. That's the biggest thing right now, is to make sure you have talented players. We're avoiding the noise, and we're stashing guys waiting for the right catalysts. Right? We just saw it with these Packers. Right? Jordan Love comes back, and it's all great. Right? We were stashing guys like Romeo Doubs. Right? Start looking around and say, okay, what if Tua does come back and play football? Then what happens with those guys? You want to be buying those guys and saying to yourself, what happens if, right? Where are the catalysts, right? Stashing rookies or moving rookies around, just like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who did nothing for 10 weeks. Everyone says Amon-Ra St. Brown as a rookie, biggest league winner. Hunter Renfrow, biggest league winner. These guys did nothing for 10 weeks, right? You have to take those situations and put yourself in the best situation long term. And if you have to start some of these whatever guys in the meantime, fine. Just don't drop too many of your upside plays, because the end goal is to win the league. And to do that, you need to put together 3 high ceiling weeks in what, Howard? 10 weeks from now? You know what I mean? Like you got to build a playoff team. So that's what we'll do today. Let's hit on some questions, get them in the chat. Let's get rocking.
Let's do it. You want to hit that chat? I'll hit that chat nice and early here and go through it. Boom. Thoughts on picking up Josh Downs and Dontavian Wicks off the waiver wire? I feel like maybe this week's sleeper picks. They're definitely not sleepers right now, because Josh Downs, we saw him get into the end zone. We know that the short passing works, whether it's Joey Flacco or whether it is Anthony Richardson. And Dontavian Wicks, this is what Coop and I talked about. Big fantasy wins this round because of an injury. Christian Watson, high ankle sprain, likely a multi-week situation. That puts Dontavian Wicks onto the field. You got Jaden Reed, you got Romeo Doubs, but now you have Dontavian Wicks. And as we've seen, Jordan Love definitely likes looking for him inside the end zone. So, yeah, I mean, not sleepers, but definitely guys you want to add. Who would you go at? I mean, would you go after Wicks first just based on the ceiling?
So I'll actually just take this quick moment to break this down, because my article covers these guys. My favorite part about the Dontavian Wicks thing, Howard, is that his ownership dropped to 14% on Yahoo, 10% on ESPN, and 18% on Sleeper. So all the people that drafted him dropped him, and now the rest of us that said, oh, well, if somebody gets hurt, we'll add him. Well, now we can add him. So he's out there in over 80%, no matter what platform you're on. Here's how I'm looking at it this week, right? So you have, and I'm not spending like crazy on any particular one guy, because you have multiple options. If you need help at wide receiver, this is the week to go in. There are 2 flavors of the upside outside wide receiver available. That's Dontavian Wicks and that's Xavier Legette. Those 2 guys just got quarterback changes. Jordan Love is back. Andy Dalton's in. And there's a situation where, for the time being, they're very good starts. Adam Thielen might be back, though. I was hearing, Howard, he almost had to have surgery on this hamstring, so I'm not expecting him back after 4 weeks, probably a little later. And same thing with Christian Watson. High ankle sprain is usually long term. So those are your options there on the outside if you want to go for big upside guys, or if you play in standard or half PPR, those guys are your best bet. If you play in full PPR and you really want to play it safe and you need a guy in your lineup, there's 2 options for that too. And they're both very similar, and I'm not going to overspend over one or the other. It's Wan'Dale Robinson and Josh Downs. These 2 guys are playing only about 60, 70% of the snaps. Josh Downs is playing 95% of his snaps in the slot. So he's playing in 3 wide receiver sets, comes out for 2 wide receiver sets, but these guys are getting peppered with low A dot targets. That's great for full PPR. Standard, they're kind of even almost even not even an option now. And like Wanda Robinson, what's it going to take for him to crack 100 yards? He's a guy has 2 games at 12 and 14 targets. I don't think he's cracked 90 yet, but in full PPR, these guys are options, man. So right now, if you're in a full PPR league, I'm not going crazy saying, oh, I have to spend half my fab on Dontavian Wicks. I'm saying I'm going to throw in some contingent bids. Bing, bang, boom. Xavier Legette, Dontavian Wicks, Wanda Robinson, Josh Downs. Oh, if I get one, if I get 2, great. But if you need a wide receiver to start this right away for you, especially for bye weeks, we got him. This is a great week for wide receiver on waivers.
Well, let's keep going with the wide receivers then, and just let's cover the Kansas City situation. Rashee Rice is done. We're still waiting for final like medical reports here. I mean, that all that means to me is that the doctors are telling him that he's done, and the Chiefs keep looking for another doctor to maybe give him some hope. So the question is where do we go? Obviously, Xavier Worthy is a must add if he's available on your waiver wire, but chances are is that he's not. So it comes down to Justin Watson and Juju Smith-Schuster as really the other options, because I don't believe in Sky Moore, and I don't really care who else the Chiefs have. We know that it's either Juju or Justin Watson. Do you have a preference?
Yeah, for me, because the thing with Justin Watson is his style of play is good for real life football. He's a very good blocker. He's like Sammy Watkins, right? Like he's a good blocker. That's why he's out there a ton. He's Byron Pringle. They've always had this type of guy to be out there and kind of block and be that big body split end, but not really conducive to fantasy. We want the guy that's going to be getting the wide receiver screens, that's going to be getting those kind of shallow crossing patterns, and Juju's the best bet for that. Juju's the best bet. I saw a funny tweet, Howard. Some Kansas City Chiefs fan was like, "Can we just disassemble Sky Moore like an old car and just give those parts to Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice?"
That'd be nice if we could. I'd definitely be into that.
So it's Juju if anybody, but I mean the reality is Kelsey had to wake up from his nap and start actually playing. And Xavier Worthy's probably just going to get more targets. And once you start doing the math, And I think Kareem Hunt, honestly, is going to be a guy that's probably going to be used a little more in the pass game.
Listen, if Kareem Hunt is still sitting on your waiver wire right now, your league made a huge mistake. Like we talked about it back in week 3. I wasn't like going to break the bank for Kareem Hunt, and I didn't break the bank for Kareem Hunt. I put in very sensible bids. Like my bids were somewhere between like 12 and 15% of my budget for Kareem Hunt. And I got him in a ton of spots. So watching him with even though it's a 45% snap share last week, still had 14 carries, still saw 3 targets as well. Carson Steele with the fumbles in the early part of the game. Samaje Perine, we know that he's limited. And I know CEH is supposed to be coming back at some point soon, but I'll take Kareem Hunt over CEH any day.
Yeah, and I just wonder, honestly, it's hard to speculate on this, but he's dealing with some mental health issues with PTSD, and that's a very difficult situation. But I just can't imagine under those circumstances that he's been just working out really hard and staying in great football shape during that. You know what I mean? It's tough to imagine him to just kind of shake that off and come back. I hope he does. I hope he does for his sake and his career. I hope he's getting the help he needs. But for the time being, Kareem Hunt went out there and looked good, and Kareem Hunt got all the carries, and he actually ran 13 routes, and Samaje P ran 15. We'll take that all day long. If he's getting most of the carries and half the pass work, I mean, 75% of the work is pretty much what the best guys are getting, and he's playing for the Chiefs. So yeah, absolutely, he's my top ad here. I can hit on another couple real quick if you want, or we can hit questions, whatever you want to do.
Well, I mean, let's just kind of run through it, because obviously, I know there's a question lurking in there somewhere about Trey Sermon. Jonathan Taylor, they're saying it's a high ankle sprain, but they're saying it's of the lowest variety of high ankle sprains. So they're still holding out hope there. Where do you stand on Trey Sermon as a potential pickup, or what other running backs are you looking at?
The good old low high ankle sprain. I mean, you're not gonna fool me with that one. I know that injury is so brutal. I mean, like a lot of these guys, when it happens, like a lot of these guys actually they break their legs. That's been the biggest problem. So with Jonathan Taylor having that injury, and we know it takes time to come back and be 100%, you can sneak Sermon in there for me only if you plan to start him this week. That's the way I look at it. Is like if I'm not going to start Trey Sermon right now, when do I plan to start him? If we think that Jonathan Taylor is not going to go on IR, meaning they think he's going to be back in less than 4 games, right? So it's like if I'm not going to start him right now, I'm not going to add him. So for me, the guys I'm focusing on are Kareem Hunt, the guys that have the potential to be the starting running back for their team for a long time. Isaiah Pacheco does have a broken leg. Like he's not coming back this month, probably not coming back till just before playoffs, and this team is going to coast their way into playoffs. The Chiefs, the way they're playing ball, it's so lazy. It's like watching Luka Doncic, Howard. It's like just the laziest.
You know what? You can waste your NBA reference on somebody else here because I don't watch any NBA, nor do I care about Luka Doncic or anything of that variety.
The chat knows what I'm talking about. The chat knows what I'm talking about. Just imagine putting in minimal effort and then just hitting a 3-pointer to win the game every week. That's basically what the Chiefs are. So Kareem Hunt, I would take, and I also over Trey Sermon. He's out there in 50% of leagues on all platforms. People aren't like if you're in a deeper league, he's obviously rostered, but Rico Dowdle being out there on over 50% of leagues on Yahoo, ESPN, Sleeper. Like if he's out there, you just got to add him because there's just so few actual starting running backs, and he's starting running back for the Cowboys, right? And all it's going to take is for him to score a touchdown next week, and then he'll be rostered in 80% of leagues. So always take a look and see if those guys are out there. If you're looking for a spot start, we talked about this on the show, Howard. You made fun of me for playing a doctor on radio, but but Bijan Robinson did. This is a guy that was playing 80% of snaps. He only played 64 this week. He's got an AC joint sprain. So what they said is, hey, let's not run this guy up against the wall over and over and hurt his shoulder even more. Let's just put Tyler Algier in there. So Tyler Algier got some carries, and then the rest of it is what we've been doing. If you need a spot start, look at guys like Emmanuel Wilson, who's actually getting usage. Look at guys like Roshan Johnson and Bucky Irving, who are ascending. And then for stashes, it's the same names. We look at the good teams with good running backs that have good running backs behind them. Braylon Allen, Ray Davis, and I added a new long-term name to the list this week, Howard. After the way Derrick Henry's been steamrolling everybody, I'm looking around and I'm saying, what happens down the stretch if he gets nicked up? And Keaton Mitchell, if you can sneak him into an IR spot for free, is a free look at a guy that they wouldn't just hand the car to Justice Hill, right? So we're talking you need to have an IR spot for this play, in my opinion. But if you have an IR spot you're not using, Keaton Mitchell, sneak him in there.
What about Chase Brown, who looks like he's been shot out of a cannon every time he gets handed the football?
Do you see that screenshot?
Dude, not only did I see that screenshot of yours, but I linked it in the weekly bender this week because obviously people are like, listen, the Chase Brown truthers are they're inappropriately touching themselves in the corner right now, just thinking about using Chase Brown.
Right.
Again, to me, Zach Moss is the lead back. The game was in hand against the Carolina Panthers. And so, you let Chase Brown get some work. But what we're looking at here right now, though, we're seeing a steady increase in snap count, a steady increase in touches, and a steady increase in production from Chase Brown. Is that just a matter of the schedule, or is that just a matter of, or is that like legit he could be pushing himself into a bigger role?
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of complaining and from the metrics community and the beat writer community. The thing for me is that with my article, guys like Chase Brown that were quote unquote, they were kind of overdrafted early on by people that were stashing him. He's still rostered in like 60-70% of leagues. So it's hard for me to be like, hey, add Chase Brown, because people get upset when I do that. Then I'm like, oh, I put a guy in the article and they're like, he's owned in 60% of leagues. So I really can't, if he's out there in your league, sure, throw him in there. He's mixing in, but most like Yahoo, 62%. That's not a guy that's available for this part. That's the problem. But yeah, we're looking for guys on offenses like the Bengals that are getting work. It's just until that flips and he's getting more than half of it, you're starting the guy getting 30. There's no difference between starting him and starting Braylon Allen.
Yeah. All right, let's hit some questions in the chat here. Coop, grab those Twitch glasses for yourself there. Woolen the Goat in the house. Trade Travis Etienne for Debo and Chase Brown. How appropriate of a question here right now. Is that something that you're looking to do?
I mean, I think ETN for Debo, just if you just look at ETN for Debo at face value, that's actually a pretty fair deal. ETN's been underperforming, and Debo's been, Debo is Debo. Like, he's gonna, when he gets back and he's healthy, he's gonna get carries, he's gonna catch passes. So I think that if you're hurting at wide receiver, then do it. Chase Brown is a throw-in, is a great throw-in.
Beautiful. All right, let's see. Let's go through it here. Should Justin Fields be rostered in every 12-team league?
Man, these questions are kind of setting us up to hit on these positions nicely, aren't they, Howard? Justin Fields was actually in my waiver article last week, right? And in our top 2 streamers from last week in the article, a little pat on the back here, Howard. In the streamers article where we say, hey, start these guys this week if you need it, Justin Fields was the QB1. And our second option, Geno Smith, last night just threw for almost 400 yards. So we did okay in the streamers article. Both of those guys are now in the waiver ads article, just the straight up ads, because, hey, Justin Fields is the starter. He's looking like the guy. He's running the ball fine. And he's on pace for 3,500 yards, which for most people isn't like world beating, but for Justin Fields, it's almost 1,000 yards. He's more than he's ever thrown for. So if he's gonna throw the ball at an okay level and run the ball at the level we can expect him to, then yeah, he needs to be added in every league out there. And again, Geno's another guy. A lot of the guys that we had been recommending, Sam Darnold crossed over the threshold, Howard, where he's now at 60%. But if Sam Darnold's out there, I'm actually still rank him ahead of Geno just because Jordan Addison looked pretty good. First game back, scores 2 touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson potentially coming back. They're saying targeting week 6 or 7 for him. Sam Darnold could be looking like basically Kirk Cousins. Like, he just could be Kirk Cousins.
Could be. Back to the Justin Fields. Would you drop Anthony Richardson in order to pick up Justin Fields? George Halagian, George H wants to know. Does he give up on Anthony Richardson? He's already got Joe Burrow. Do you see bigger upside here for Fields in this offense or Richardson in his?
No, I'm still sticking with Richardson. I think Richardson, that just the way the Colts offense is set up and the way they operate allows for it. If you go and look at what the Steelers beat writers are saying, they're basically, people are like, oh, why don't they open up the offense? And they're all basically saying, how can you open up the offense with this line? So I think the Steelers are still going to have to be a very cagey team versus the Colts, which I think the Colts can let it loose when things go right with the team they have and when everybody's healthy. So I'd rather stash Richardson than stash Fields if you have Burrow.
There you go. There you go. All right, here we go. Back to the tight end talk here. Would you trade Mark Andrews straight up for Kyle Pitts?
I think at this stage I would. I mean, Mark Andrews is telling us that he's going to have games. John Harbaugh is telling us that he's going to have games, but it's a usage thing for me. Kyle Pitts is still out there a decent amount, running routes, getting 3 targets. Mark Andrews in these games where they're crushing teams isn't even out there. And I mean, Howard, if they're going to run the ball all over the Chiefs and the Cowboys, and this week the Bills, I mean, if they can run the ball all over those teams, they're probably going to run the ball all over everybody. The Ravens just might not be a good offense for passing. They only completed 12 and 13 passes the last 2 weeks. What do we do with that?
I don't know, because I'll tell you what, this week is a very interesting matchup here because it's the Ravens against the Bengals. And the Bengals are one of the worst teams against the tight end, yet their run defense is absolutely nightmarish. So,
Right.
how do you not just unleash Derrick Henry on them on a constant basis?
That's why I don't see why they would stop doing what they're doing. That's the problem. It's like we've seen this before with teams that are running the ball well. It's completely unnecessary to throw it right now. Not even worth it. Zay Flowers we love Zay Flowers. He had 2 targets. You don't need to throw it. Why throw it if you don't have to?
Yeah, that's one of the big issues there. That was the video that Tara Roberts posted on her Twitter account, which I thought was fantastic. I referenced that and sent that to 1 billion people who are like, crying about Mark Andrews. It's like, what do I do with Mark Andrews? You start him against teams that have great run defenses. Derrick Henry's great, absolutely, and can take care of like big run defenses. But if you've got a big, solid run defense, that's the week that you start Mark Andrews for sure.
And Raheem Mostert, I mean, sorry, not Raheem Mostert, Raheem Morris, the coach for the Falcons, he kind of encapsulated, he did it in kind of a rude way, but he kind of encapsulated how real NFL coaches approach this versus like us. We're looking for stats, we're looking for production. Somebody asked him, they were like, oh, Kyle Pitts, I know he got 3 targets, but this is the first time he's ever not caught a pass. And Raheem Morris said, well, we won the game. So who cares? Stats are for losers. That's what he said. The stats for losers thing kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, but I mean, he's got a good point. He's like, you got these people out here asking, and the reporter did it in the nicest way too. He was like, you always like us asking the tough questions, even if in wins and talking about where you can improve. Kyle Pitts didn't catch the ball, and Morris wasn't having any part of it. He's like, we won the game. Who cares? Shut up. So that's it's all about first downs and touchdowns to a guy like Raheem Morris. He doesn't care about who gets the ball, who doesn't.
Well, no NFL coach cares really about who's getting the ball as long as they're scoring touchdowns. Like that's again misconception number 8,672,433.
Right.
NFL players and coaches don't care about your fantasy team.
The only one that ever did was Antonio Brown when he had that streak, and Tomlin let him get that one screen pass. Beyond that, I don't think I've ever seen it. They don't care.
Kevin Russell wants to know, what percentage of fab would you spend on the Seahawks defense if you've got the Bills defense, or just play the Bills defense? So for me, I'm not a defensive roulette kind of guy.
Right.
Like I like to find a good solid defense and just roll with them. You're going to have good weeks. You're going to have bad weeks. When people stream in defenses, I mean, look at what the Raiders defense has looked like. And what was it? 2 weeks ago, everybody was like, oh, you got to pick up the Raiders defense. They're going to be amazing for the next 4 weeks. And you know what? They sucked.
Right.
They got hurt. They got banged up. They got crappy points. You weren't getting anything like that. Like, so for me, I mean, I chances are is I'm just rolling out the Bills defense here, as opposed to trying to fish around and use Seattle. I don't even know who Seattle plays. Oh, they play the Giants this week.
They're in my article. The Seattle's in the article playing the Giants, and Denver's in the article playing the Raiders. And Denver's been a top 5 scoring defense in fantasy anyway. But here's the thing: when I didn't really do this in many places, but if you sat there and you drafted the 49ers defense or the Jets defense or the Bills defense, what you did is you said to yourself, I'm starting these guys until their bye week. Like if I drafted the Bills don't have a bye week until week 12. Like that's the best feeling. You have one defense that you can just start and not worry about it. You traded a legitimate draft pick, like the draft capital you traded where you could have taken a real player, you took a defense. And now you're going to turn around and use another bench spot on another defense? Don't do it. Just stick with what you committed to.
There you go. Appreciate that. That's good stuff. All right. Anthony Sands wants to know, should I drop Evan Engram and Hunter Henry for TJ Hawkinson and Pat Freiermuth?
If you can get Freiermuth right now, you got to. Because he's one of the few guys that's a top 2 target on his team. He's gotten 4 targets in every single game. I don't know if there is a tight end in the league that's gotten 4 targets in every game. That's where we're at. Because, I mean, or hasn't been hurt, right? Like, McBride and Engram have been hurt. We know that Kelsey's had down weeks. Sam Laporta has the same fantasy points as Kyle Pitts. They both got 25 points, right? It's like, it's ugly out there. So, for Pat Freiermuth, man, if you got a guy like Freiermuth or Jake Ferguson, you're happy to have him. I think what I'm doing is if I can go with Evan Engram and Pat Freiermuth, those are the 2 guys I would have. Because Evan Engram, he played 1 game and he had a 21% target share. And now we're looking back and we're saying, boy, does that sound nice, right? Yeah. So hopefully Engram comes back and takes over his job. And Brenton Strange scored a touchdown. He got a couple targets last week. I mean, clearly they still got a role for him. The role is still part of the offense.
All right, here we go. Here's a little waiver question, but this is more like a commissioner question here. One of my dynasty leagues, the commission, others brought up the idea of adding first come, first serve game day transactions instead of waivers mid-season? I'm pissed and disagree. Am I out of line? I don't think you're out of line at all. If it's something, if it's something that the league wants to add, they have to do it in the off season. You don't do it 5 weeks into the regular season.
Yeah, I do like, and again, it really, you have to vote on it, and it depends on who you're playing with. But there are some people, like if you're talking first come first serve, where you can just add guys in the morning and then everything locks at 1 o'clock. I think that's pretty reasonable. But to allow for Wild West waivers where you can add guys during games, add and drop guys during games while they're playing. I've played in the league like that, and it was a lot of fun when we were younger. And then it turns out some people got to work on Sunday, or some people got to hang with their family. Like people got to hang with their family on Sunday. So it's, just to have half the league being like sickos like us, adding guys and doing this while people are out with their kids and stuff is just not realistic. So, but I do like the ability to add guys in the morning, but you gotta vote on the off season, like Howard
said. Next question here. Yeah. According to when we were talking before, Millie Mills wants to know, too late to sell on Ramondre.
Yeah, don't sell him right now. Again, I'm holding on to Ramondre because he's one of the few backs that's getting the lion's share in an offense. But the worst time to sell Ramondre Stevenson is right after they play the Jets and the 49ers. I mean, it's just, they're going to have to play the Jets again at some point, but they have easier games on the schedule. You don't have to play the Jets and 49ers every week. For instance, they have the Dolphins this week. I would see what happens in this Dolphins game and then consider it. And if you're going to sell them before they play the Texans. But the schedule, I mean, they play the Jags, they play the Titans, they play the Rams, they play the Dolphins again, they play the Colts, they play the Cardinals. I mean, there's so many better games for Ramondre that maybe you should just hold on to it. Because remember what happened against the Bengals? Ramondre looked pretty good. Like, he's probably got some good games left in the tank.
Everybody looks good against the Bengals, Coop.
That's what I'm saying. Well, everybody looks good against the Rams and the Colts, too. They're on the schedule.
Thoughts on DeAndre Swift? Is he an RB2 or the Bears offensive scheme? Is it that bad? Obviously he had a great game this past week. I'm not a believer in DeAndre Swift, but maybe you can sell somebody else on it there, Coop.
Yeah, RB2 is a little strong. I mean, the thing is there's 32 teams, so being a top 24 back isn't actually that hard. You know what I mean? Right? So he's still be in that range. I mean, he definitely fought back to keep his job, but they did give Roschon more looks than he's been getting. Like guys like Rachaad White and Swift, they got to do this every week in, week out to fend off these other guys.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the big issue right there, is that because you have Khalil Herbert, who's a short yardage specialist, Roschon Johnson's a guy who can catch passes and is a decent pass blocker. Like, that's the thing. And that's what I kind of warned everybody off about DeAndre Swift. Guy pops for like 2 weeks and then like plays his way out of out of a starting spot because the coaches are like, this dude sucks.
Yeah. So this is probably your window to sell DeAndre Swift.
This is definitely your window to sell DeAndre Swift, right? Coming off of that game. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. What do we got going on here? I like this. Kareem Hunt's available in a 10-team and a 16-team league. Burn number 1 waiver in both. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This could be the big one here. You know what I mean? And again, like we talk about guys that you can start for 1 week, like a Trey Sermon, versus guys that have the possibility to take the job rest of the season. I mean, it's starting to look like Jordan Mason's going to have this job. We don't know what Isaiah Pacheco is going to come back looking like from a broken leg, right? He might come back just in time for the regular NFL playoffs, which doesn't matter to me. I don't care about that, right? I care about fantasy football. So for me, if I can add a guy that could be the guy for 8 weeks, hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and the Jordan Mason. If you held on to Jordan Mason and weren't like, oh, I got to sell him. Dude, I love it. By the way, I did I called dibs on Asymmetrical Achilles being my new band name. It's no longer the asymmetrical hamstrings. We know that doesn't matter anymore. It's the asymmetrical Achilles tendons that you're rocking Christian McCaffrey style.
A little alliteration there. You went from mouse rat to rat mouse. Scarecrow boat.
All right, here we go. Should I buy low on Davante Adams? Sounds like he'll get traded from all I'm reading today. All right, here's a very important thing to remember, people. When you hear trade rumors, look at salary cap numbers. Use the typey in the old Google machine there and just find out what the team's salary cap situation is, because I'm hearing the Chiefs are getting Amari Cooper, and I'm hearing that the Chiefs are trading for Davante Adams. And guess what? The Chiefs have about $4 million in salary cap room right now. And neither Davante Adams nor Amari Cooper are coming to play for $4 million this year. So teams have to get really, really creative if they're going to want to start acquiring him. So I'm fine buying low on a guy like Davante Adams because of, his abilities.
Right. What would the Chiefs need to pay the Raiders? Like, what is if you're a division rival, and a team wants your best player, what is the price? It's everything. Especially when that team's the favorite to win the Super Bowl, because all their picks are going to be pick 32 of whatever round it is. So you got to look at that too. Like, that's why it's hard for the best team in the league to trade for a player, because if you're the Chiefs and you offer a third, every other team's third round pick is more valuable than your third round pick, because you're the undefeated back-to-back Super Bowl champions. So if the price is a third, you have to pay a second. That's always been the case. It's why the Patriots had to pay a second for Mohamed Sanu. Like, it's you know what I mean? It's like if one team offers a third, your price needs to be higher. It sucks for teams like the Chiefs, but I don't feel bad for the Chiefs one bit.
Third and Sanu is one of my favorite expressions around football, right? That guy was money in the bank when it came to short yardage, like receptions for a first down. That was good stuff there.
Great hands.
All right, let's see. Chiefs look like they're going to trade for somebody. Yep. All right, here's a little waiver question here. He started Anthony Richardson every week thus far and still been able to go 4-0, but should he make a pivot on the QB, make a trade, or is the play going for Joe Flacco on the wire?
If Flacco is the only guy there, I mean, the thing is this super flex? If it's super flex, then you got to go for Flacco and just start like I did in Scott Fishbowl. I just started Malik Willis, and he was fine. And then now Jordan Love is back, and I'll start Jordan Love. Like, sometimes it's super flex, that's the best way to do it, because if A-Rich is out, you can start Flacco, and then when A-Rich is back, then Flacco goes away. So super flex, I do that. In a single QB league, you can probably do better than Flacco. I know that we do love his pace of play. This guy in 9 games for the Jets and Browns has averaged 43.5 attempts, and that is a pace of game thing. So we don't mind Flacco if he's going to start, but I don't know. I wouldn't go crazy adding him personally.
I wouldn't go crazy adding him personally either. I actually just got posted on our YouTube page. You guys can check it afterwards. After you watch this show, there's a short, my 3 favorite QB streamers for this week, who are all probably sitting on your waiver wire in single QB leagues. Superflex leagues, there's nobody there. Or in a league like the Pros with Joes, like that's like, everybody stockpiles and hoards their quarterback. So, so I'm left like bidding on Joe Flacco and Tyler Huntley. But if you're in a single QB league, guys like Trevor Lawrence, even Deshaun Watson, are guys who are in favorable matchups this week that you might want to just kind of check it out.
He's mentioned in those streamers, little Watson this week, just, with Washington, right? That's been kind of the cheat code.
Yeah. Washington's pass defense has been right. They've given up 10 touchdowns through the air already. That's the most in the NFL. 11th most receiving yards per game allowed. Yeah. 10 touchdowns.
10. And when Watson is attempting a crazy number of passes, I mean, this week is got to be the last straw.
Dude, like Amari Cooper against Washington, I'll be right back. I'm going to go inappropriately touch myself for about 15 minutes.
There you go, dude. Oh, we only have 15 minutes left in the show.
Oh,
hang on. Can you hang on?
I literally, figuratively.
Figuratively.
2 Sox Games wants to know JSN trade for Wicks, defense, Dallas, or green bag.
No, don't trade JSN.
Don't trade JSN for Dontavian Wicks. Don't do it.
No. For this week, you got Dallas going against Pitt, and you've got Green Bay is going up against the Rams. That Rams game is supposed to be a shootout, they're saying. And Jair Alexander has been banged up. He didn't play this week. I don't know if he's going to play next week. So I'd probably just go with Dallas against Pitt.
And hope that Justin Fields doesn't rush for 120 yards on them.
Yeah. But even if he does, the odds of Pitt just putting up like 30 or 40 and really dogging you is just it's low. You know what I mean? Like Stafford, you never know, man. You never know when Stafford's just going to go Stafford mode.
All right.
I mean, those can't be the best. There's got to be other options out there.
You'd like to think there were, but maybe there aren't.
Two socks. Check for Denver defense. Denver defense has been oddly pretty good. They have a good matchup. They're only rostered in like under 20% on virtually every platform. Go with Denver against Vegas.
Jerry wants to know, is Justice Hill worth a pickup? Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, I would. Why not? He's better than half the crap that's sitting out there on your waiver wire right now.
Guys like Justice Hill and Emmanuel Wilson are guys we like to stream for two reasons. One, they're actually getting work. The other is that there's no third running back on those teams right now. They're waiting for Keaton Mitchell. They're waiting for Marshawn Lloyd, and I guess AJ Dillon's done for the year. So like, if something happens mid game, there's only one back for the rest of that game. So you get an additional little bit of upside there on top of a guy that's already getting the ball like 4, 5, 6, 7 times a game. I mean, Emmanuel Wilson has 8 and now 12 carries. He had a 30-yard reception. I don't see why guys like that aren't usable.
Do you put Bigsby in that category also? Because Mojo wants to know about picking him up, using him as a flex.
I mean, he got the looks and he looked good. I mean, he had the 58-yard run, and 58 yards is more than ETN had on the entire day. So again, Bigsby, look around at the guys that are not performing well. You know what I mean? Like, people were hoping that James Conner would be washed. He's not. So Trey Benson stays on the back burner. Kyron Williams looks good. So Blake Corum isn't even a thing. Guys like ETN, Swift, Rashad White, Zamir White, if these guys underperform, they'll start putting in the other guy and seeing if he can do it. And if Bigsby's going to do it, like he did this week with a big play, then he's going to play more. You know, Bigsby, the problem for Bigsby has been mental errors. That's why he hasn't played a lot, but it seems like he's cleaning that up.
RJ Gonzalez wants to know, are we dropping Mostert for Trey Sermon? I'm not.
No, unless Trey Sermon is going directly into your RB2 spot, not the flex. You can find better flexes. If he's going to be your RB1 or RB2 this week, then you might have to do what you have to do, but no.
No, indeed. I just want to highlight this because it's a good comment. Hal says, all these third down backs get light boxes and have high efficiency metrics. I wonder why. Huh.
It's funny. I thought Tony Pollard was just going to run for 9 yards of carry forever. You know?
Interesting, Hal. Interesting. What is this logic that you use here? Where is this coming from? Are you using your brain?
What? How dare you?
Stop it.
How
dare you?
In this economy, all we have space for is panic.
Mile High Luke wants to know, is Kimani Vidal still a good stash? The Gus Bus seems like he's almost completely out of gas. And I mean, listen, J.K. Dobbins is just one carry away from the turf monster reaching up and snapping his ankle.
It's true. I mean, I'm looking at those guys that in the offseason there was hype for, and these teams that the guys they're using are struggling. Why doesn't Kimani Vidal get a look? Why doesn't Dylan Lowby get a look? If Zamir White and Alexander Madison are going to be so bad, just let the kid play, right? Like, why doesn't Stone Smart get some snaps at tight end? No.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, Hayden Hurst and Will Disley stink. Just let the kid play.
If I have to sit there and listen to one more Stone Smart again, it's like, I mean, this is like listening to you talk about Drake.
Why isn't if they're not going to throw the ball?
All right, never mind. Tight end talk here. Cameron Kaplan wants to know Tucker Kraft or Isaiah Likely.
It's Kraft. Yes. This one's Kraft. Yes, this one's Kraft. Just because Likely's not playing a lot of snaps either. So I moved Kraft ahead of Likely.
Dude, one catch for 26 yards this last one. I was like, come on, man. You're your receiving yards prop was 27.5, you son of a bitch.
How do they know, Howard?
How do they know?
They know.
Hottest team in football.
All
right. So Mile High Luke also wants to know, if you wanted to get Amari Cooper in a half-point PPR league, which running back would you offer? Achane, Dobbins, Hubbard, Robinson, or Kenneth Walker? I would say either Hubbard or Dobbins would be my starting point.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I definitely can't trade Kenneth Walker right now. He's so good. I would even do Brian Robinson, honestly. I
think I just mentioned Kenneth Walker, and I just had this vision of this dude who messaged me saying that, and I haven't found out yet what he did, but he was like, I'm thinking about benching Kenneth Walker. And it was a message from yesterday while I was on air, so I couldn't answer it. And it was like, I'm thinking about benching Kenneth Walker because I'm worried about the timeshare.
No.
I
hope he did.
I have to find out if he did or not. I was like, I saw that message. I was actually afraid to message him and be like, I hope you started him.
I needed 56 points from Geno Smith and Kenneth Walker last night, and I got like 53.
Oh,
it was like so close. Like, it's one of those ones where you're like, this will never happen. Who cares? And then it started slowly happening, and I let myself believe it, Howard. I let myself believe it. If Geno Smith just threw, like, he didn't even need to throw a touchdown at the end. If he just threw like one more pass for 10 yards instead of throwing a pick, then I would have won.
Yeah, that son of a bitch couldn't come through. Only 395 passing yards, right?
He needed 3. He needed 4.
What a son of a bitch.
Kenneth Walker only scored three
touchdowns.
And he literally did a double somersault to get a first down. It's like, couldn't you guys try a little harder for me?
What a loser. Prioritize these wide receivers, Coop. Wicks, Downs, Leggett.
Yeah, so for me, I'm focusing on who I think could have sustainable long-term upside first and foremost, which I think is Leggett. I think Leggett could be the number 2 behind Deontay Johnson, even when Thielen gets back. Downs, I love the player. I think in Dynasty, at some point, he will become an every down player, but right now he's only a slot guy. 95% of the routes from the slot. And then Wicks is, again, like, my question is this on Wicks. Everyone says, oh, when he plays, he gets a huge target share, right? But if he was so good, why wasn't he playing ahead? If he deserves more targets than Jaden Reed, if he deserves more targets than Romeo Doubs, why wasn't he playing ahead of those guys before? Like, so it's like all of a sudden, now that Christian Watson gets hurt, a guy that wasn't really getting any targets anyway, now that guy's hurt, Wicks is now better than Jaden Reed. He's now better than Romeo Doubs. I mean, it just doesn't add up to me. The math ain't mathing.
The math ain't mathing. All right, here we go. Ryan Volt's throwing down this. I don't know if this is a little wish casting or whatnot. Adams to the Jets, Hassan Reddick to the Packers. Vegas gets the Packers' 3rd round pick. I'll tell you what, man, if that happened from a real football standpoint, fine, great. But, I've gone over this ad nauseum about the Jets. And here's the thing. First of all, Adams to the Jets, you can just take a crap on Garrett Wilson right now. Like, this is one of the major problems that the Jets have right now, is that you've got 2 absolute superstars on the team that the quarterback doesn't like or care about or want to utilize properly. Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are criminally underutilized in this Jets offense because Aaron Rodgers he's a pick-me girl. It's all about him, and it's just an absolute flipping nightmare. So if this trade were to happen, fine. That's great. That's going to help Devontae Adams from a fantasy standpoint. I don't know what it does. It's a lateral move at best for Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
I just think this is terrible.
Besides, I will say this though. Besides the long-term obliteration of the confidence of your young players, which is the concern, I think that Ryan actually kind of put a realistic and interesting trade out that would be good for both organizations. I mean, Hassan Reddick's not going to play. He's not playing for the Jets. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, well, why wouldn't Vegas just take Hassan Reddick?
But I mean, this whole, like, again, I call it it's Brett Favre 2.0. And the definition of insanity, look it up.
Yeah.
It's the doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results.
It worked for the worst thing that happened was when it worked. It worked for the Buccaneers and the Rams, and now every team it thinks, oh, we'll just get Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, and then we'll win the Super Bowl.
Crap. Parsonator 78 wants to know, is it time to drop Zamir White and who to pick up on waivers? Well, that's the thing. If you're dropping Zamir White and you're adding Kareem Hunt, okay, yeah. I'm good with that. I'm fine. But if you're dropping Zamir White to add Trey Sermon,
no. Would you drop Zamir White for Rico Dowdle if you were there?
Yes, I would actually, because I kind of feel like Dowdle. I mean, Dowdle's he's involved in the offense. He's not getting the touchdowns or anything like that, but he does the yeoman's work between the 20s, and he's doing more than Zamir White is, because Madison now is the guy who owns that goal line.
Yeah. So the guys that we think could potentially start, we go for. Do you delve into the realm of guys that we hope could take over a job? Like, would you drop him for Bucky Irving? Would you drop him for Roschon Johnson? Would you
not for Roschon Johnson, but yes for Bucky Irving?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, I'm not as bullish on Roschon Johnson as you are. I mean, I guess it's just, I'm not as bullish on any of the Bears backfield at all.
Okay.
Like I don't like that.
I think that's reasonable because their line is bad. Did you see the picture of the Colts game with the 5 guys lying on the ground and the entire So there is a difference there between those players. So we draw the line at Bucky Irving.
Dude, Mile High Luke's your partner in Pros with Joe's?
Yeah, we're rocking, baby.
Wow, 3-1, high scoring week. Up yours.
What's up, dude? For charity. For charity, dude.
Most playoff upside: Bucky Irving, Braylon Allen, Kareem Hunt, or Rico Dowdle. I will say Hunt, then Bucky, then Braylon, then Rico.
Right. Because the key word there is upside. Exactly. I mean, if you're talking pure upside, then Braylon with a Breece Hall injury, but like that's wish casting. Without anyone getting hurt, it's the order Howard just dropped.
Rockout wants to know who should be my top waiver priority here. Fields, Wicks. He's got Purdy and Carr, so Fields is, whatever. Wicks, and then he's got Evans, Jamison Williams, T. Higgins, Wan'Dale Robinson, Michael Wilson, Yoshivash, and Puka. I would say my priority here would probably be Wicks.
Yeah, it would be Wicks still, because Yoshi. Yeah, Michael Wilson didn't do anything in a smash spot this week, and Yoshi's kind of on the back burner, so I'd go for Wicks. You can drop Yoshi, honestly. I hate to say it, but
he's done.
T. Higgins, he didn't really put up crazy numbers, but he looks good out there. Like he looks like at any moment he could have a huge game.
Trade Dowdle for Worthy in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
like I can't even believe you asked this question before smashing the accept button.
Smash it.
Let's see. What do we got here? Trade Jordan Mason for Jahmyr Gibbs.
In full PPR, yes. Because Mason has not been very involved in the pass game.
No.
If it's standard, it's definitely Mason. In half PPR, I think I would still take Gibbs.
But here's the thing. This is one of the things, and I guess this is also another thing that you guys need to know for trading. Position for position straight up, don't do it, because you're not accomplishing anything. You're saying here, this is like me being like, hey, Coop, do me a favor. Why don't you take this guy that I absolutely hate and give me a guy who I like, but you absolutely hate? If you guys both want to get rid of somebody, right? Like this isn't about one man's trash is another man's treasure. This is about if you're making a trade. If you genuinely believe that you're going to upgrade by making this move, then go ahead and upgrade and make that move. But for me, trading position by position, you're kind of spinning your wheels for the most part. Guys are going to have good games. Guys are going to have bad games. Figure out a way to adjust this deal. Get a tight end involved. Get a wide receiver involved. Get yourself because I'm not saying that Mason and Gibbs is a wash, but what you want to accomplish here is maybe get a slight upgrade at tight end or get a slight upgrade of your third wide receiver. Put something else into the deal so that it's not just one for one straight up position by position for position.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious what that guy's trying to do, Jack. I bet that guy is 0-4 or 1-3, and he has Gibbs on bye week this week, right?
Yeah.
So just be careful with your own lineup and your own situation. If you're 0-4, you're going to trade for a running back that you're not going to be able to use this week. So I don't know, but yeah, it's like, those trades, the one for ones, Howard. It's like basically saying, hey, I think I'm smarter than you. Do you want to trade wide receivers straight up with me? Like, I think, it's like,
right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I did that once arguing with my buddy in a dynasty league. I was like, your team sucks. I'll trade you my second round pick straight up for your second round pick. And he was like, at that point, he had talked so much trash, he had to do it. And when this team sucked, I moved up 3 spots in the draft.
Final question of the day here, because we got to get on out of here. Daniel Caps wants to know that a guy in his league dropped Trey McBride on accident. Should I use my waiver one on him? I've got Bowers and Engram. My QB is Kyler.
First, I would check with the league, and you should probably just let that guy have McBride back if it was truly an accident. But if you guys are ruthless like that, absolutely drop
Engram.
Drop Engram, drop Bowers, drop whoever you have to get Trey McBride.
So, no, I would drop Engram. I would keep Bowers. I'd double flex this crap, man. I'd double tight end my flex situation here and use Bowers and McBride.
And then shoot that guy a trade. See if he wants McBride back.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us here, folks, on the show. Again, huge thank you for everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. Please subscribe. It's a nice free way of just saying we appreciate what you guys bring to the table here. If you don't subscribe to Fantasy Alarm, well, hit this QR code right up here right now. We're still offering that 7-day free trial, whether you sign up for the monthly or you sign up for the annual. So make sure you give that a little zap there, and let's keep crushing it, baby. But Coop, you got any final words here for anybody?
Nah, we got to get out of here.
All right. Well, then we are.